Hello, friends. Hi, guys. I see Mr. Robot hoodie, black hoodie. Well, kind of my hair makes it. Oh, lost. This is getting off to a good start. I've been binge watching Mr. Robot. I love that freaking show. So, and I'm still a little from yesterday, but also from Plasti Dip fumes. Even with that N95 mask, man, I got it in my mouth. I don't know how. I had to wipe. I mean, my glass is not so surprising. Just wipe that off real fast. But how did I get it in my mouth through a mask? I don't know. But yeah, today was a hardcore boss fight costuming day. I'm in fuzzy feet. But also spraying. And I've got the Iowa Iowa caucus in my little tablet right now. So I'm kind of. But I want to discuss something I said I brought up yesterday, and people are like, you don't have to talk about it. I do want to talk about, once again, this thing about the sort of women's advocacy going on in gaming, or like think about the women's. But first, freaking YouTube demonetized my video yesterday. Even though it's a news story, even though it's public figures, demonetized. So you know what's coming. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Please help. And a friend of mine is in surgery right now, too. It's been a day. And I went to the doctor and find out I'm surprisingly healthy. But anyway, let's get on the topic. There was a 2B cosplayer, 2B from Nier. And she got her thigh signed at a convention by a male creator. And some guy decided to pull his best social justice warrior, like from Lady Bits. I am save the world and all the women in it, checking my privilege and making sure that I am woke, right? And decided to, no woman, I will speak for you, right? And the idea came up that it's an inherently degrading act, and so she can't consent. It's an immediate, he's, the creator is the powerful one, and therefore, you can tell how I think about it. And a bunch of people brought this up on Twitch, because for 3 years in a row, I went down to San Diego Comic-Con in various cosplays, and Frank Cho signed my butt, and it was my idea. Because he kept going, cosplay Shadow the She-Devil, cosplay Shadow the She-Devil. I'm like, Frank, there's nothing to that costume. They'll kick me out. I'll be too naked. Because I had issues at E3 with my glorious butt being too much for the old lady security guards. Pun. But I finally figured I'll put like an army jacket and make it look like he was eaten by a dinosaur. Figured it out, but I finally said when he wouldn't stop about it, I'm like, all right, Frank, if I cosplay Shadow the She-Devil, you're signing my butt like a Cabbage Patch Kid. And, Frank, he has his public image, but Frank's kind of shy. And I think he didn't think I was going to do it. It was just me shutting him up, but I did it. And then it was Ms. Marvel, the cool Zed before she was Captain Marvel, the Ms. Marvel costume when he was doing covers. And then we did a dual butt signing the third year of Brandy and Jen from Liberty Meadows. And if anybody had dared to tell me that I was somehow being oppressed by something that was my idea, hello, Scouty, I would have told them where to oppress themselves. Scout, don't step on the fuzzy feet, please, buddy. Scout loves fun fur. Say hi, Scouty. Yeah. But that's ridiculous. And the fact that we even have to talk about the fact that it's ridiculous is how ridiculous things have gotten in gaming. This isn't equality. This isn't women's lib. This isn't championing women. This is old school paternalism and this idea that, women shouldn't be tasked with the difficult job of thinking. It's too stressful for a pretty little husband. Yes, Gowdy. Yeah, hi. But it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous on its face. Most people who watch this channel think it's ridiculous. And yet, how did this happen? I mean, I think it's really interesting that the topic from yesterday with the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing has apparently caused Even the hardcore ridiculites in places like Gamer Ghazi to question for a moment. I don't think it'll last, but to question for a moment whether their strident ridiculousness and, blacklisting of people like me made sense because, Johnny Depp's dreamy. I guess they like his movies. They like Alice in Wonderland and Pirates of the Caribbean, so this benefits them. But that's the problem. It's ultimately a selfish thing instead of a moral and ethical underpinning driving your decisions. And I mean, there are certain things I advocate that don't benefit me personally at all because they're the right thing to do. Like when I talk about, stuff affecting men. I'm not a man. That doesn't directly benefit me, but I think it's right. And I think that you have to show an ability to back other people when they're right. And so that you expect sort of mutual support, mutual understanding. And people tend to listen to people who seem to understand them, not agree with them all the time. Understand them. That's very different. Just because I may not agree with every point someone makes, at least I attempt to understand. And that matters. That's important to a lot of people. I mean, the patron that asked me to take a look at the Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing actually wrote me to thank me and said, wow, I'm really sorry it was that difficult for you, that rough on you. And I admit I was messed up by it. I was doing a lot of "Are you okay?" conversations with guys I know and guys I now know much better. It was a combination of checking in with friends of mine I know who have been victims of abuse, because I know they knew the story. Some even commented on the video, and then people who mentioned things on Twitter, and so I friended them and DM'd them basically saying, "Are you okay?" Because the process of reliving this stuff, and I know I've been reliving the rottenness that ensued when I defended guys I knew were being abused. And, I think it's just the thing that's getting me more than anything, because I'm well used to humans being horrible. I think what's really bothering me is how easy it is. And this all ties into the correct place for a woman, a politically correct woman, is as a victim. You get a lot of attention for being a victim. You take a lot of shit, trust me, for refusing victimhood, and going, no, I can handle this, thanks. Some of you have seen many of the tussles I've gotten into on the U of Tubes, and I walk away fairly, and I've gotten a lot better at it. People come at me at their own peril these days, but I do not wear the victimhood. This is not a victimhood. This is my Mr. Robot hood. This is not a victimhood. Even though short term, it would probably financially benefit me to lean into victimhood, I wouldn't feel right about it. That's not the world I want to move towards. I want to move towards where women are actually of equal status to guys, especially in gaming. I really strongly believe that we need more diversity of opinion among women in gaming, because I've had conversations with women. I lecture once or twice a term at a college. I have these conversations. They do not match the popular opinions out there. And so we need more diversity of thought. We need more women passionate about games. And why? Because, well, more customers are more customers, right? But also, I do think we need a better sample size regarding what women really want, what women really think. We shouldn't leave it up to, oh God, I'll be generous and say 3 or 4 voices talking about this stuff. And that's really important because if people see women participating in this, then they will consider things like game development as a career. And, one of the things I enjoy about lecturing is I'm a hardcore, right? And I put a lot of hardcore references in my talks. And I can always tell based on what computers the students have, whether they're one of the business students or whether these are hardcore gamers. They have the Razer laptops or something like that. If they're gamers, they usually have Macs if they're the business students. But I see the hardcores when I get to the Dark Souls part of my agency and games talk, and they're kind of like, okay, didn't see that coming. And then I'll mention Cuphead. I'm like, okay. And then I mentioned the last time that I'm playing Hollow Knight. You just saw these guys go, all right. And, that's an important experience for guys educating themselves to work in gaming. They're not going to have the preconceptions about who cares about this stuff, who plays this stuff, when somebody who was teaching doesn't fit the norm. I think that's super important. So that's always very cool. And that's the kind of thing we need to have. We can't have a few voices, and we can't have a shame-driven dialogue. Most people in gaming are in this to have fun. I'm not sure what you're doing if you're not in gaming to have fun. But, so it's got to be a fun conversation. There's got to be room for women to be whole people. There's got to be room for men to be whole people. And there's got to be room for people who don't fit neatly into either of those 2 categories to be whole people. And to me, I think the best way to do that is to just tell game devs, you do you, and encourage them to tell a different type of story. I thought that in Undertale, not giving the human a gender was brilliant. The game didn't need it. And so instead of picking between male or female, the game just didn't need it. So the playable character was the human, and they were always just the human, and they looked like they could have been a little boy, could have been a little girl, not sure which race, could be Black, Hispanic, could not be, it was almost like a Rorschach blot character. I thought that was brilliant. Not everybody has to do that, right? If you want to tell a story, like you guys know, I love stuff like God of War, where, Kratos is struggling with being a single parent. I think that's brilliant too. So I want to advocate for developers just feeling free to tell any story they want to tell, feeling reassured that gamers, players are not going to reject different types of protagonists, right? Like different types of playable characters. That's really important. I think that's more important than being like, oh, what do women want? What is good for women? Well, certain things are obviously across the board good. Equality of opportunity. I think paid family leave for everybody is very important. Certain things like that, right? Voting, very important. Access to medical care, affordable medical care, that's very important. But other things, like what a character's wearing, or whether a cosplayer gets her thigh signed, these are not things that are for the benefit of all women everywhere. And so I think those are the sorts of things where the more diversity, the better. And more diversity includes women's, what we choose to do with our bodies in any way. And that's why I was actually so pissed at that lady at E3 that one year who I was wearing tights. If you guys have ever seen my cosplays, they're like dance tights. They're thick. But it was too revealing. My ass was too fabulous. And I'm like, you know what? I'm about to walk in a room full of characters on monitors wearing less than what I'm wearing right now. That was the whole point of me dressing that way. I'm like, I'm going to a video game show. I'm going to dress like a video game character. There's not a lot of cosplay at E3, unlike PAX, but I'm like, I'm just going to dress up anyway. And I think it sends a really bad sign when that kind of prudish Puritanism means you are looking at depictions of things that look like humans on screens that have a level of freedom that the real people navigating the show floor don't have. That's messed up to me. Like, one of the things we love about gaming is this feeling of freedom. I don't think it's about power so much it is about freedom, choice. Maybe because I like really hard games, so the other people I know like really hard games too. We're not power gamers. Like, we're not interested in, we like having our ass kicked. So, we're not power fantasy. We're like, oh my God, that was hard. But the freedom to explore those worlds is very important. And then, I can go and play an Ubisoft game for the story and the really awesome gameplay and be just fine with that. I'm behind on Far Cry, man. I'm behind. I haven't played the last Far Cry game. But I'll leave it there. I think that there's nothing wrong if a cosplayer wants a thigh signed or a butt signed, and to be clear, it wasn't really my butt. It was like here. It was on the Captain Marvel sash, right? It actually wasn't. It was a PG butt signing. But if it's fun, if everybody's consenting, especially if it's the cosplayer's idea, some third party does not have the right to come along and say it's wrong. We all know this. What is bothersome to me is that we're still at a place where somebody thought they could get all huffy and didn't know better. And they thought they were a champion of women because they're telling us, this guy's telling us what we can do with our bodies. It doesn't matter what you're telling us we can or can't do with our bodies. You're still policing what we do with our bodies. Period. End of story. And that's not right. Okay? So if you like this content, this will probably get demonetized. If yesterday's got demonetized, this is going to get demonetized. So help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Hopefully I will be less tomorrow because it'll be a chiller day. Hopefully I'll be able to talk to my friend after surgery too. Thanks for watching.